Now, returning to the mansion. Fourth mansion, so let's just get inside. And raid its contents, destroy its occupants and all that kind of violent shit that Simon Belmont is quite eager to do. And a fake wall. And disposable bricks, so nothing really. And seeing how much of this kind of disposable bricks this game has, I can say that getting holy water is compulsory thing to get. And this is actually quite much of a quite tricky mansion to get through, because of it's a bit of a maze and all that kind of nonsense, and because, well, the steak salesman is up there, even though the room is up here. So, but luckily I had already bought the steak from the previous mansion, thanks to the non-mansion specific coded items. I can just walk right in. Yeah, creepy background of corpses. And this was all. So let's see. Yes, I was right. The oak steaks are not mansion coded, but then you can only carry one of them. And now I have 4 body parts. I have his rib, heart, eye, and an eyeball. So that was very simple and easily done with a bit of preparation work. Just a straight walk in, walk out. That's it. Without that kind of preparation work, this would be much more complicated place to maneuver through, and I would say it might be the most difficult mansion to find yourself getting through, and no reason to go the difficult path. I can just go the easier path. And cross through that gap as well. And just walk away from the wall building. Because, well, that's what Simon does. And continuing to the left side. Because from the right side, from that mansion, the end game begins. And, oh, looks like it's one of these places again. So it's time to do the magic of ducking with the red crystal in my possession and just walk through that to a completely new kind of deep and dreary locations, even though Castlevania 2 is filled with them. They are quite just walking through, because there's a guy in here. That guy gives me the upgrade to the ultimate weapon, the Fire Whip. Vampire Killer is now in its most powerful form. And although Fire Whip has occasionally appeared in other Castlevania titles, but it never has been appeared as a standalone weapon like it does in this one. And some skulls as well. They do the basically same job as the eyeballs or Medusa heads. That might be a bit tougher, but the Vampire Killer handles them quite nicely. Meaning it destroys them, or kills them, however you want to say it. Yeah, now Simon Belmont carries the most powerful weapon of the game. And that which is quite necessary because, well, because there's only one mansion left also, and that's a place where you are attacked by something while you're doing the platforming thing, even though those things are not, skulls are not the most intimidating of things to face. I'd say that the combat in this game is not particularly difficult. which is quite nice seeing that this game's difficulty is all about in mental level. And getting through the swamp with a tried and true patented equip the well, luckily those jumpy things are quite pointless. They activate so far from you that they practically never have a chance to hitting you. Yep. And there's no other way to get through this than this one. Of course I could be trying to use laurels to get through it, but even with laurels I can't get through this swamp by itself. I would have to use several laurels to get through this place. But I got through it. And I still have some hit points left for the final mansion, due to which I am entering right now. The final 5th mansion, which also includes something unusual to this game, a boss fight. Even though the first boss fight with against Death was quite much of a disappointment, because well, Death was quite efficiently stun locked to the old fight and couldn't do anything. But this is the last mansion of the game. Although gameplay-wise, it doesn't none of these mansions provides anything. You could say after the first one, you've practically seen the basic gameplay of every mansion there is. Stairs, enemies walking about, and you have to find the guy with the stake. Or let's say the stake salesman. And that's all the special gimmickry you need to follow. Yeah. This game is not particularly, you could say, it's not too long either. I've seen the speedruns which speedrunners get through this game in about 40 minutes or so, which isn't, well, it's a combination of impressive and unimpressive, seeing that, well, Symphony of the Night has been played through in much shorter time, and it's much basically longer game with a bigger landscapes. But of course that game has so much more different tricks you can use to break that game to pieces in mobility and all that kind of things, and this one doesn't. So it becomes much more of a, it's quite different. But finding stake in this mansion was not difficult to feat at all. It was actually very simple. And God, sneeze. Sorry. Well, there's a not sorry. I would have had to say I'm sorry if I would have sneezed so that it would have been heard by the microphone. Oh, and I've died. And I continue right at the get-go. That's that kind of thing in these old-timey games. That kind of continue option made game, you could say, really much easier. But let's just equip my golden dagger and say hello to the second boss, Camilla. But I don't have any. And Camilla is basically a vampire who drops tears of blood, which then become fireballs, and she's very pattern based, just like Death is, but visually I'd say a bit more interesting. And on her death she drops the magic cross. The game doesn't really explain anything about its use, but I have it. So it's time to smash open the final piece and process Dracula's ring, and I have now the 5 body parts of Dracula. I have his rib, I have his heart, I have his eyeball, I have his nail or tooth, and I have his ring, and I have the magic cross taken from Carmilla. All I'm lacking from the game's inventory is another oak stake and the regular dagger, which I'm not going to get back. And of course I could beat Carmilla again, but there's no point. And I'm once again referring to Netflix's series, Castlevania series, in which Carmilla was quite important character. Yeah, that was quite impressive chain of being killed. Actually, I think that she's the most important antagonistic character of that game. Correction, movie. Oh, and that guy gives me laurels. A full batch of them. Oh, that was a bit of wasteful direction, but they do have use in the future. So, because, well, and I also say that the variety of enemies in this game, of course, isn't as vast as it could be in later titles. Mostly because of, well, memory limitations and all that. Even though Castlevania 3 has quite vast array of different enemies in its basic stylings, or however you wanna call it. It has lots of enemies, although most of them are tried and true Castlevania basic fodder. So, and in this one it's just basically different colored skeletons. Some of them walk around, some of them are a bit smarter knowing how throwing these bones and all that. But nothing really before unseen. So now I would have to do something a bit cunning move and go back, and let's just show what laurels can do. Yeah, with laurels I can just walk right through it, but didn't last but few seconds. Still a quite noticeable amount of time to get through. Makes getting through these poison swamps much easier, and damage boosting through also made getting through much easier. Oh, not like that. Firemen, not in the sense that they people whose job is to put out fires. No, they are men of fire, made of fire. So nothing we could say really unusual enemies in video gaming or in any other form of fiction either, made of fire. And quite many of these skull head, I remove them. So getting back, yeah, game does have a few phases of this that you have to get back where you came from, but generally quite little, meaning that the pathing of this game is quite well. The game, in a sense, is primitive in Metroidvania sense, but it's also really well thought out around that primitivity and make use of it as well. Even though the game could you benefit from a lot of improvement in general sense. So once again, I am at this mansion, and it's time to end this episode right here before going to the end game of Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. See you then. See ya.